when we're going to buy and sell in the market as far as the context for today goes. So that's what I'm here to help you do, is understand the path to getting to that incredibly high level of energy, so we truly are in the best position to anticipate and take advantage of price movement. That we have the greatest awareness, greatest energy to develop awareness for when to enter and exit. And most traders, once they get into it, the thing that is the biggest stumbling block is having the patience to consistently wait for market alignment and the conviction to consistently execute when that alignment presents itself. Let's understand that patience requires energy. So that's what we want to do. We want to create the energy to have the patience to wait. And it's in that process of developing that energy to have the patience to wait that we build the conviction we need to consistently execute when the market aligns with our strategies. So that's a big overview for what I want to do with you guys today. First thing I want to do, though, is give you something free. And this is a daily briefing that I do every morning. And I just sent the link out to everybody. You guys can grab that, copy it. And I don't want to be rushed at the end. I want to make sure I have this out. Does everybody get that link that I just put out? So this is online every morning, 7 to 8 a.m. And you can go to that link. Paul, I'll send it to you directly. I think everybody else got it. But there you go. So you can come in every morning and really spend a couple weeks with me, get to understand what I do, how it works, why I do it, all that good stuff. So that's the daily briefing. You guys have the link for that. So I want to do two other, the way I want to get you guys to a better place is going to have two parts to it this morning. More often than not, most folks never really take it. Yes, it's 7 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. Very rarely do folks take the time to really understand what they're getting into. So I want to break this down into two parts. Who trading professionals are, what they understand, and how they succeed. And then I'm going to get into the second part, what we need to know before we start simulated trading. So professional traders are thoughtful. They know how to best support their development, performance, and evolution. Bottom line, an attorney doesn't go into the courtroom unprepared. An accountant doesn't show up in a conference with the IRS unprepared. A surgeon doesn't walk into the operating room unprepared. So we need to understand trading is no different from any other profession. It takes a significant amount of time and effort to prepare, to learn how to support our development, our performance, and our evolution. And this is what professional traders do. They don't make it up as they go along. Can everybody hear me okay? Now someone says they have no sound. Okay, good. I apologize for the interruptions, but I'm just trying to be sensitive to everyone else. Everybody has sound, so all right, again. So trading professionals are also independent thinkers who accept responsibility for the consequences of all their actions, all right? In other words, they don't play the blame game. They don't wait for somebody else to come along and take them by the hand and show them when to buy and sell. They're independent thinkers. They found a path. They're committed to staying on it. And a big part of staying on that path is being responsible for everything that happens. That's how we learn. That's how we get better. That's how we survive. And so the key to all of this is accepting, holding, or I should say becoming aware of accepting and holding ourselves accountable to absolute performance truths. Every profession has absolutes. They're the foundation from which we assimilate knowledge and develop competence. Even sports and music have absolutes. And so by accepting and holding ourselves accountable to those absolutes, that's how the foundational decision-making components are built. It's how we find our way. And more often than not, traders come and they have no clue as to what the absolutes are. That's why so few are able to be successful making their own decisions. So trading professionals understand capital risk, and they're comfortable taking it. In other words, you're going to lose money, you're going to make money. Trading involves loss. There's no way around it. The key is to get into a process that has us consistently making right decisions that over time minimizes the frequency and severity of loss, maximizes profit, and in turn optimizes performance. But please don't think for a minute that loss is not involved. Trading professionals understand that the key to success is having the ability to anticipate and take advantage of price movement. We have to create a future vision of the market. In other words, we have to get our decision making ahead of the rate of change. And think about it, in your professional life, the ones that are most elite that consistently outperform, they do that by seeing and doing before others. In other words, they have the awareness and ability to anticipate and fulfill customer, team, and organizational needs ahead of everyone else. Well, in trading, it's the same thing. We've got to have our own future vision created by getting our decision-making further and further ahead of the rate of change, and that's going to allow us to see and do before others, and dramatically increase the probability that we're going to be successful. And we can't do that if we're playing follow the leader. In other words, if we have to process somebody else's information on top of our own, we're screwed. We're falling behind. We're not moving ahead. I'll say that again. If we have to process someone else's information on top of our own, we're falling behind and not moving ahead. Trading professionals understand that success requires a commitment to doing the work necessary to embed the behaviors that reflect absolute performance truths. Folks, this takes work. Go back to being a musician. Go back to being an athlete. Think about the amount of time and effort that you put into training to develop a basic level of competency. Okay, I just saw that the link that I put up is bad for the daily briefing. I'll correct that. I apologize. I'll correct that in a few minutes. But go back to thinking about the time that you put in for development. You had to get to that basic level of competency that allowed you to get out onto the field to compete or to perform with others. You get up on that stage. And that was just a starting point. And then look how much more you had to do to progress, to get to higher and higher competitive levels. Guys, when you go to trade, you're competing against professionals. There's not a B league or a D league. We step in, we compete with professionals right away. Trading professionals understand competency is validated by doing the work necessary to become certain of state, confident in strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. There's this belief out there that we have to have 10,000 hours of something before we can become an expert or professional. I completely disagree with that. We can spend 10,000 of hours doing something and not spend that time efficiently and still really be no better off, actually worse off than when we started. If aptitude and desire are aligned, it can take a heck of a lot less time than 10,000 hours. Ted Williams, phenomenal baseball player for the Boston Red Sox, probably would have had all of the hitting records in baseball. But he stepped away 2 years in World War II and 2 years in Korea to serve his country. When he went out and played golf for the first time, he shot like 78. Never played golf before and shot 78. Aptitude, eye-hand coordination, desire to compete. So we have to have desire and opportunity, or I should say desire and aptitude aligned. And that's how we become certain, confident, committed. Because when that desire and aptitude are aligned, it's easy to accept and hold ourselves accountable to the absolutes. When we work that process, we develop that foundational trust, we connect more deeply to our work at functional, psychological, and practical levels, and that manifests in certainty, confidence, and commitment, that great energy we need to have the awareness to get decision-making ahead of the rate of change. So how do trading professionals succeed? Well, they do that by developing those foundational decision-making components. This is another thing most traders never realized. Decision-making is taking place at two levels, a foundational level and a functional level. Foundational level are all the decisions that we make that are necessary to develop the awareness we need to make the right functional decisions about price movement. So, two levels of decision making. Foundational, that develops the awareness we need to make the right functional decisions about price movement. Trading professionals succeed by transitioning from a linear to an exponential development path. You know, linear is what's been embedded in us, first grade, second grade, 100, 200, 300 level courses in college, timelines and goals. All that is linear, and it slows us down. We have to break free of that linear path that's holding us back and go to an exponential one. And that simply means that we are locked in on the work that matters most. We don't have any distraction and conflict. We've created a dynamic, blocking it all out and causing information and knowledge to flow to us. All right, I apologize for another interruption. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Again, there's some people that are just having some issues. All right, good. Again. So we get from this linear to an exponential development path. Same secret. Accept and hold ourselves accountable to the absolutes. In other words, once we really understand what's most relevant to achieving our objectives, we can get to that exponential path. And that's not going to happen without becoming aware of accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes. Trading professionals also succeed by embedding a process that keeps expanding and accelerating their capacity and ability to filter, process, and apply information. Technology is dramatically accelerating. The unintended consequence of that is it's ever increasing the volume and speed of information distribution. In reality, professionals, for the most part, are being overwhelmed, not empowered by information. We have an incredible disconnect between technological advancement and economic well-being. We can look at the declining salary, 23% decline in salary since 2008. The U.S. Department of Labor, the U.S. Census Bureau, every September releases its measure of poverty for the previous year. So we're going to get the measurement of poverty for 2013 this month. Last year this month, when they released it for 2012, the poverty rate was higher in 2012 than when the war on poverty began in 1965. I don't know a more powerful way to demonstrate that we're being overwhelmed rather than empowered by all the information and digital power that's been created by technology. Because to me, we should all be working 4 days and they should all be half days. The only folks unemployed should be retired. We should be drowning in abundance. There should not be poverty. There should not be hunger. But that's not happening because we're not aware of just how incapable we are to make the most of the digital power available to us. In other words, we're being controlled by it instead of using it. And successful traders get past that. They're users. They are not controlled. And they're users because their process keeps expanding and accelerating their capacity and ability to filter, process, and apply information. They hold on their power, and they're staying ahead of everything. So now I want to get into what we've got to do before we're ready to sim trade, what we need to do to prepare. And so most people aren't aware of this. Sim trading creates significant learning gaps and bad habits. You know, earlier I talked about those foundational decision-making components. Well, sim trading just has us focus on the functional, when to buy and sell. It has nothing to do with developing those foundational decision-making components that give us the awareness we need to make the right functional decisions. That's a huge, huge gap. That's a huge, huge gap. Excuse me 1 second, I apologize. Sorry about that. Got a minor family thing going on and I had to respond to that. All right, can everybody hear me again? Okay. So again, simulated trading, what it does is it pushes away, or I should say it puts all our focus on the functional aspects of it. It does nothing to make us aware, encourage, or support that foundational development. And so this can be really devastating because what ends up happening is we take a trial and error approach. We just keep bouncing around, clicking the mouse, hoping something good will happen. So that huge gap, putting all the emphasis on the functional and none on the foundational, is incredibly destructive. It creates other bad habits, like trading more than a one lot. Remember, when we start out to sim trade, it's all about validating our ability to consistently make good decisions. The amount of contracts we're trading is irrelevant. Once we validate we can make good decisions, then we can go back and sim with larger numbers and learn how to manage different strategies with multiple contracts. But understand, we're never going to get there unless we can validate our ability to make good decisions trading a one lot. Another real bad habit sim trading promotes is to trade just to trade. Right? I'm not going to lose any money. Market's moving. It's pretty cool. I'll just jump in, see what happens. It can't be that hard. It's going to go up or down. Plus, I got all these great tools to help me. So we start clicking the mouse. That's like slitting our own throat. Successful professional traders understand they need to have an edge. And they put an incredible amount of time and effort in developing that edge, and they hold on to it. And when we have an edge, that means we're certain of state, confident in strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. We only participate in the market under our terms. We don't make it up as we go along. We don't give up our edge. But sim trading encourages us to do precisely that. So if we step back and understand what we need to do to fill those gaps, what we have to do at the foundational level so that we have the awareness to make the right functional decisions, our probability for success goes through the roof. Because we're going to be solid. We're going to have that genuine knowing. And we're not going to get into those bad habits. So to prepare for sim trading, we've got to do three things. And until these three things are accomplished, we should not trade. We need to build the foundational decision-making components by accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes. We have to identify the enemy, know who we're trading against, their strengths and weaknesses, so we know what to do to defeat them. And then we've got to develop and validate the strategy and tools needed to execute that strategy. So three things we have to do before we're ready to trade. So those foundational decision-making components, again, develop the awareness and ability we need to compete because they keep leading us to the work that matters most and preparing us to do it best. We're making the most of our time and effort, getting the greatest return on all our good work. And again, it's by accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes that we build those components. Look at this image. Those folks look happy to you? Do they look energized? Do they look like they have any anxiety at all? Because what happens is when we become aware of, accept, and hold ourselves accountable to the absolutes, anxiety and frustration are gone. They're banished. And they're replaced with certainty, confidence, and commitment, conviction, genuine knowing that we're ready to go. Man, drop the puck. Throw the first pitch. Kick it off. Let's go. And this is what happens when we become aware of, accept, and hold ourselves accountable to the absolutes. So absolutes provide the foundation. Knowledge is built upon and competency is developed from. Accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes empowers us to see and fill the gaps. Every time we see and fill the gap, we're gaining competitive advantage. We're building trust, confidence. We're connecting more deeply to our work, functionally, psychologically, practically. We're developing that genuine knowing. When we get to that point where we're unconsciously, because of all that trust and confidence, we're thinking independently and unconsciously applying our creativity and imagination to integrate our skill, knowledge, and experience. And these are the things that need to happen to create that future vision, push our decision-making ahead of the rate of change. And when we accept and hold ourselves accountable to the absolutes, they keep anxiety low and energy high by communicating and supporting performance expectations most effectively. In other words, we are locked in onto the what, the why, and the how. We have no doubt. We can draw straight lines to everything that we're doing, where it gets us, and why. In other words, we understand why our how works. I don't know how many of you have ever asked yourself that question, why your how works. So what are the trading absolutes? Our objective is to keep ourselves best positioned to anticipate and take advantage of price movement. That's all we can control. We can't control what the markets are going to do. We can't control what anybody else is going to do. All we can control is where we're putting our time and effort. So we want to put it in a way that's going to put us in the best position to anticipate and take advantage of price movement, be able to see and do it before others. Why do we want to do that? Because it's going to create the highest probability we're going to make profitable trading decisions. How do we do it? By only trading when we're certain to stay confident in a strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. Accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes. And the way we do that is through something called the intuitive development process that I created. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a few minutes. So by accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes, we build the decision-making engine that optimizes our decisions and execution. That's how we get decision-making ahead of the rate of change. That's how we get our decision-making ahead of price movement, by learning how to build this engine. And through my training, we have a tangible understanding for what this is. How to build it, how to maintain it, how to get the most out of it. So that's the first part, that foundational decision-making component. The second part is we have to understand who the enemy is, who we're trading against, what their strengths and weaknesses are, so we can figure out how to defeat them. So the first enemy, if you will, are high-frequency traders. They own the tick. The tick is the smallest increment of price movement. And high-frequency traders use their high-speed infrastructure to profit from small increments of price movement. In other words, they're in and out of the market in milliseconds all day long. We're not going to compete with them. We don't need to. Algorithm traders. Algo traders own fair value. Fair value is a proprietary representation of where someone believes price to be in balance. And once we have that balance point, we can compute deviations from that balance point that tells us the market's overbought or oversold and act accordingly. So algo traders, because they're using that same high-speed infrastructure as high-freq traders, they're going to consistently be trading the sweet spot of fair value. That's okay. We can still beat them. Institutional traders own the trend. Remember, they're using the indexes to hedge their portfolios, their contractual risk. And their capital base, which is massive, and risk management skills, which are excellent, allows them to take a longer view. They're able to sit through price fluctuations as the trend progresses, as the trend plays itself out. Most retail traders can't afford to do that. And then we're also competing against other retail traders. And they are creating the noise we have to filter out. In other words, the smart money, the guys that know what they're doing, they've built filters to get rid of the noise and allow them just to lock in on the opportunities that we're looking for. And so it's the retail traders that are inexperienced that create that noise. And so how do we do that? How do we get through the noise? Well, we create our own filters that keep leading us to the information that's most relevant to our decision making. And the process that gets us there is what empowers us to become certain, confident, committed, have that tremendous energy we need to patiently wait for market alignment and the conviction to consistently execute. So once we understand the enemy, after we've built those foundational decision-making components, the last thing we have to do is prepare for execution. And to do that, we have to identify, develop, and validate strategies, tools, and methodologies needed to execute those strategies. I should say we have to identify, develop, and validate the studies, tools, and methodologies that we need to execute the strategies that we've created. So there's a lot going on that we have to complete before we're ready to sim trade. But if we don't do those things, we have pretty much zero chance of being successful. So once we complete those things, then we're ready to sim, and this is the first step of practical application. And it's also the start of a balancing act, because now that we're into the functional, we still have to maintain the foundational decision-making components. In other words, it's not a check-the-box thing. It's like an engine. It has to be maintained. So we have to maintain that engine to make sure we have the awareness to be effective in our functional decision-making, making the right decisions about price movement. And then we go and trade live. Once we've validated our ability to consistently make good decisions and we go and trade live, then it becomes even more complicated. Because now we've got the emotional overhead that comes in with capital risk. So we've got that going on top of everything else. But the cool part is if we build that foundation, we're going to have the components we need to support that emotional overhead that's created by capital risk and market volatility. In other words, we'll have created the functional, the psychological, and the practical components. And again, most traders never become aware that they need to do this. So once all of this stuff kicks in together, it's our process that's ultimately going to determine the outcome. And so what I teach is the intuitive development process. And what intuitive function is, it's the unconscious application of creativity and imagination integrating skill, knowledge, and experience. In other words, it's the product of all our good work. I just want to make that quick distinction between intuitive function and instinctive behavior. Instinctive behavior isn't learned and developed. Intuitive function is. So when we learn how to formally develop and support intuitive function, we're able to expand and accelerate our capacity and ability to filter, process, and apply information. And then we develop that awareness we need to make the most out of the digital power available to us. So I want to invite you to come and take my basic training. It features intuitive development. You'll become aware of those absolutes. You'll become inspired and compelled to accept and hold yourself accountable to them. You'll be able to build that foundational decision-making engine. And the training consists of 12 hours of instruction broken out into 4 sessions. It's available on demand, or you can come and take it live online. I do live online sessions twice a month. The next session begins Monday night. It's from 7 to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If that's not convenient for you, you can listen to the on-demand recordings of those live sessions. And you have access for a full year to the live sessions that I present twice a month, to the on-demand recordings, and also the Saturday reviews, which take place on the 3rd Saturday of each month. So you have access to all of that for a full year. And I give full year access because folks take my training many times because it's so powerful. I encourage them to take it at least 3 times. First time through, they're blown away. They get so excited on one hand and they get so mad on the other because nobody told them this stuff before. So they become really excited about what's possible, aggravated that they're not finding out about it until now. Second time through, they calm down. They can really begin to connect the dots, develop a tangible understanding for how that intuitive development process is expanding and accelerating their capacity and ability to filter, process, and apply information. Third time through, they really become present to how it's optimizing their decision-making and execution. Advanced training integrates technical analysis and trade execution with the intuitive development process, and that's a 5-day immersion. I do that once a month. We just finished it last week, second Monday of each month. And that advanced training is supported by the daily briefing, the chart book that I send out each evening, and my toolbox, which is a video which contains all the instruction that I provide in that 5-day immersion. And the focus is the E-mini, but what I teach is applicable to any other futures market. So what I do is available on demand and online through live online training. That means you can tailor make a schedule that will fit your needs. And there's a couple other things added here. The accelerated development, which you can learn about. That's for folks who are ready to make a full-time commitment to their development. And then also the 12-week reflection program, which is for folks who want really to develop a mentoring relationship with me. So bottom line, you can go slow, you can go fast, you can take a little or a lot. It's up to you. And so my email address is ray@intuitiveperformance.com. I'm going to put it up here. Send me an email. We'll make a time to talk. I'll be happy to go through, talk about your trading with you and get into detail how I may be able to help you. So I got about a minute left here. I want to wrap this up. I want to get the link out to the daily briefing one more time. I just want to make sure that I've got that. If you just bear with me, I'm going to put it up again here. All right, everybody should be able to see my screen again. Put this up here, do this here, do that. Send to all. That's the link for the daily briefing again. And then finally, the best offer that I have bundles intuitive development training in the circus. In other words, the basic and advanced training. Separately, it would be about $1,500. When I include a free retake of the circus, you can get all of that for $897. It includes, again, the basic and advanced training, all the support, the daily briefing, the chart book, the Sunday evening reviews, all the on-demand, my toolbox, all that good stuff. So here's my contact information, ray@intuitiveperformance.com. The website is intuitiveperformance.com. And when you go there, please make the time to read the customer comments. It'll give you a great understanding for why this is so effective. Folks that have gone through the training consistently provide a score of 9.0 or higher on a 10-point scale to express how much better prepared they are to support their development performance. And the last thing that I want to end with, the intuitive development training itself, which is the $697 for the full year access. If you go through that and you decide trading's not for you, it's still going to be 12 hours of your time, $697 well spent, because you're going to take about 90-95% of everything that you learn and be able to apply it to everything else that you do, both professionally and personally. Remember, the key to trading is being able to get our decision-making ahead of the rate of change, ahead of price movement, I should say. And it's that process that can be applied to anything that's going to get our decision-making further and further ahead of the rate of change. So in business, that means we're going to have greater awareness and ability to anticipate and fulfill customer, team, and organizational needs, see and do before others. If you're a coach, it will help you accelerate player development. If you're a leader, it will help you lead more effectively. Why? Because what it's going to do is make you much more effective at communicating and supporting performance expectations. So we get great clarity for ourselves for what we have to accomplish as traders, but then we become empowered to help others understand what they need to accomplish in a very precise way.